Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me fine? Perfect. What can go wrong? Right. If we were in New Zealand, I'd be saying earthquake, tsunami, you know. If in Australia, it'd be invasion of poisonous frogs. Here, we're safe. Okay, 8 more minutes. Oh, people are already leaving. I haven't even started. People are already leaving. Oh well. Yeah. So in business-to-business marketing, there's very important bit of technique that you need to learn is fear of missing out. You instill, like fears and uncertainty and doubt, and then you explain to people how you dispel them. Like, here's the problem. Look, we all understand. We can solve it like this, like this. And then at the end, you say, if you're not doing this, you have no idea what you're missing out on. So anyone who has left, they have no idea what they're going to be missing out on. 6 more minutes. The countdown. How do you find the conference so far? Okay. Yeah, everyone has been hunting for the stamps. It's a bit, to be honest, it's a bit discouraging for the vendor when people just come in for the stamps. Let's be honest, right? But yeah, but we try. Yeah, we try. Okay. So I'll accept recommendations for anything to do in Warsaw during the weekend. Any ideas? Any recommendations? Okay. That's it? Sightseeing. Any good art museums? Wrong person to ask? I'm not a real art monster either. My wife basically just tells me, everywhere you go to a modern art museum, period. Have no choice. So. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, because the other member of my team he's young. He only wants to go to clubs, and he's German, so he's like, ooms. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, 4 more minutes. Come, people, come, please. So why are you here, guys? I know why she's here, but why are you here? What interests you? Like you said, you're actually interested in knowledge management. Are you actually interested in knowledge management, or just okay? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So just to and again, people who are not here, they're gonna miss on this. This is not a demo session, so I'm not gonna show you any demos. If you actually want a demo, come back to my booth. It's a storytelling and stand-up comedy, obviously. Yeah. Hello. Thank you for sitting in the second row. I don't buy it, usually. So, yeah. So have you had any interesting sessions so far? Like, well, obviously yours, but any other interesting sessions? Any interesting sessions that you've attended so far? Okay. 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 Yeah. Well, there's going to be a little AI in this one, but not too much. Call of hands. Who is still on data center? Okay. That's Poland for you. So everybody else is on cloud? Thinking on going to cloud? Like you have a choice? Yeah, okay. Okay. So what you're observing right now is exactly what's going to happen in March 2029. Everybody's going to wake up at the last very moment and they're like, we have to be in cloud tomorrow. Don't do that. Wake up now. Seriously, like start planning now. If you're a big enough customer, it may take up to 3 years to do it properly. If you have help, hopefully 6 months is what you get, but yeah. Okay. Who's in charge of the camera? Is it just rolling? Well, let's do it then. Yeah, it's rolling. Like 1 more minute. Last chance. That guy left. Clearly, he's not into jokes. He wants real substance. Okay, anyway. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to see me here. I hope you'll find it interesting. The title is on the screen. It's a mouthful. That's why it's after the lunch. But this is actually a kind of in-joke. This is one of the first use cases for AI use, to de-abbreviate all the abbreviations that humans create. So it's not a statement about AI, it's a statement about humans. And that's kind of going to be part of my presentation. So I would hope I'm slightly different from other presenters because we are both a solution partner and a marketplace vendor. I am from New Zealand. If the organizers mentioned, it wasn't Polish, but if they mentioned a guy from New Zealand, that's me. They always do. Yeah, so New Zealand, and we also have a subsidiary in Australia, and I also have now one in Malta, and I'm actually based in Crete, so I'm cheating. I came from Crete, I didn't come from New Zealand. One of this is the continent, but otherwise we're specializing in islands, so it's our island empire. We're here with the support of New Zealand government. I don't know, maybe it doesn't work in Europe, but in New Zealand, that's actually quite exciting when government supports you. They have this marketing, really, initiative about seeing New Zealand technology. They go, see tomorrow first. Now, that obviously refers to New Zealand being in front of everyone else in terms of time. Anyway, I'll try to show you. So that's my Atlassian connection. I've been doing Atlassian forever since day one, since before Atlassian attended the first conference in Europe ever. We bought their version Jira 1.0. And then in September, we bought it in May. In September, I was in Antwerp, shaking hands with Michael and Scott. And they were like, thank you for buying our product. At that time, that was exciting for them. 5 years later, I was in the queue like a groupie, trying to shake hands again with Mike, but they were already multi-million-dollar company. Completely different thing. They grown in front of me. Anyway, so yeah, using Atlassian since 2002. I am a cloud skeptic. I was a cloud skeptic. I've been proven wrong time and time again. I have another speech about that, where basically if you have a company of fanatics, like a cult, working 24/7 to change things, they will, no matter what we think about it. So that's what Atlassian is doing. I guess right now I'm an AI skeptic. I mentioned that there'll be some AI in this talk, but not enough. My actual specialization is migrations and user identity and integration. The reason I'm giving you this talk is because 3 out of 4 of my user management competitors are in this conference, and they all gave a talk about user management. So I thought having a 4th talk about user management is not exciting. So this is why I'm doing this one. Right, so New Zealand is known as a land of long white cloud, and it's all in cloud now, for all the wrong reasons. In the case of New Zealand, it was infrastructure. So they couldn't find infrastructure engineers. At some point, government approved Australia as the place where government can host their data, and everybody jumped, including all the businesses. If it's good for government, it's good for business, so they all jumped. And then when Atlassian Cloud arrived, same thing. Nobody wanted to do Amazon anymore. They wanted to just offload this to Atlassian. So they're all in cloud. We successfully migrated all of them on cloud. When Atlassian pushes its cloud to you, it's my fault. Like, because it's successful, because in New Zealand, we're dealing with enterprises. They're not as big as you guys, they're smaller, but they're still enterprises. They do things in enterprise ways. And so Atlassian sees success, same as in Australia. They see success. If an Australian bank can jump, so can a European one. So from their perspective, they moved Commonwealth Bank of Australia to cloud. That's it. That's check mark, bank and cloud. So they go now to all banks, and that's what they tell them. Look at this bank. This is about us. So as I said, we're both solution and a marketplace vendor. I'll be honest with you, when we move people to cloud, we get ourselves out of a job. So a lot of customers don't need a partner once you're in the cloud. Now, whether it's actually good or not, that's a different question, but they think they don't need a partner. Because it's kind of runs. If something actually fails, you still have to contact Atlassian. So why do you pay us? Why would you pay us? But we're also a marketplace vendor, and the good thing for us is that we, as a solution partner, we talk to real customers, we solve their problems, and then we turn it into apps. So what I want to do is I want to tell you a story of Rachel. So Rachel is a real person. She works in a renewable power company, renewable energy power company. Now that's a big deal. Because in New Zealand, 85% of all the energy comes from renewable sources. Now the point is, this is a funny one. That's the same as Atlassian. So I'm a chief financial officer, so I actually look at financial reports from Atlassian. They publish stuff publicly as a report to shareholders. So 85% of all their revenue comes from 50,000 customers. 85%, and these 50,000 customers, they pay more than $10,000 per year. Okay, so $10,000 per year is Jira standard at 100 users. The reason I'm saying this, if you represent an organization that is bigger than 100 users, use that. You make 85% of their revenue. And, well, another 50,000 customers just like you. Point is, 85% of the people, they don't even pay $10,000 per year. Like, just to balance, there's only 600 customers who pay 1 million or more. So just think about it. Where are you in this case? If you're close to 1 million, you have leverage. If you are somewhere in the middle, you have leverage. Even if you're at the bottom, you still have leverage. Talk to your salespeople, make them know that. It will help you. Anyway, so Rachel here, I think they have like 400 users. So they're bigger, they're among the 50,000. She has a very funny title. It's literally her title. So there's a Knowledge Management Team Manager. Just like Amazon. Amazon likes this kind of titles. Her team, she's attached to a team that provides second and third level support. Now again, there are people who generate energy, and then there are people who sell energy to houses, and so they support all of this. Her focus is that there's a lot of repeatable, stupid questions that pop up, and she doesn't want to waste time on responding to these queries that are basically the same queries. So I mean, this is a standard ITSM kind of requirement. They want to shield them. They want to shield the team from this. They want to handle it with knowledge bases. So she comes to us and she keeps saying these abbreviations. I had to look it up. So KCS and FCR. I didn't know what KCS is. So KCS is Knowledge Centric Support. So apparently it's a complementary methodology to ITSM. But okay, fine, it's about knowledge bases. And FCR is the first contact resolution. So someone comes to you and they ask a question, and that question gets resolved immediately with no back and forth and whatsoever. The point is, she comes to us, she says, look, we want to optimize our knowledge base. We want to optimize it continuously. I mean, okay, she's a knowledge manager, whatever. So she comes to us and she says, maybe AI can help. So they are in the cloud. That's why they are talking about AI. Atlassian clearly is doing a great marketing job. Rover can do everything, if you believe Atlassian. So I'm an AI skeptic. The whole company is about, yeah, be lazy, machine does it better. Sure, but it's not necessarily AI. So these days it's automated and unbothered. It's actually spelled out. We are very keen on automation. We're not so keen on AI yet. The whole point is not everything requires AI. Not everything is good for AI use case in the first place. As an example, on LinkedIn, there was a kind of a viral post when somebody asked ChatGPT, knowing everything about our conversations, all the history, draw me a picture of how you view me. Right, asking the AI to do that. So in my case, basically, it couldn't draw a picture, it failed, which also an example of where AI is not really good. But I said, okay, fine, just give me a text description. What came back was long, but the main point was you don't treat me as a companion. You expect me to be a machine. You expect answers like from a machine, and I'm not. Okay, if you read any things about AI, people constantly say that you need to ask AI to pretend. You need to ask AI to wear a hat, and then whatever you're asking the AI, give me your answer from the perspective of an architect or perspective of a knowledge manager, whatever. What I heard from Atlassian, which is actually quite interesting, is that it's not just AI, it's not just about AI. At some point, I talked to Atlassian, I talked to Dominic Price. At the time, he was an evangelist for the system of work. And I was asking him, how does a vendor like us survive in cloud? Again, 85% of people in cloud are below 100 users. How do I make business out of it? Like, okay, 15% are paying money, but the 85% are not paying a lot of money. As a vendor, I make an app. How do I make a living? The answer was, you got to believe. And his meaning was that you got to believe that big guys will eventually come to cloud. That's probably, you. And I said, okay, fine. So I went to Sharif Mansour. He is now AI Tsar, AKI Distinguished Product Manager, whatever. And I asked the same question, and he goes, you got to believe. And I'm like, is this a cult? And the answer is yes, it's a cult. But the thing is, what I'm hearing about AI from them, and I heard it in the conference, in the developer conference, where they were presenting, which was actually, used to be a partner conference. Now it's a customer conference. So customers come there to learn about AI and Rovo, Atlas Camp in Amsterdam. Constantly the same thing. Well, first of all, you got to keep human in the loop. But also, whatever you get from the AI, the requirement is for that to be good enough. Right? So not perfect, not exact, good enough. So a good use case, and again, it's an opinion, a good use case for an AI is something that can be judged as good enough. That's what I'm hearing from Atlassian. And yeah, you gotta believe. So you basically ask AI to do something, and you gotta believe that that thing will produce, and it's something that's good enough. If it's not good enough, you just reject it and send it back and ask it to do it again. That's why you have a human in the loop. Okay, right. Coming back to the original topic. So knowledge centric support and first contact resolution. So again, Rachel is saying these abbreviations. I have no idea what they mean. I started asking her, and she came up with it. She basically says, look, I really need to keep my knowledge base relevant. I want to create knowledge as we go. And I actually need to make sure that it works. Right. Sidestep. So I travel a lot these days. I'm from New Zealand, but I've been deployed to Europe for the next 3 years. I just went to Turkey. I went to the archaeological site of Troy, and I kind of realized why archaeologists are so excited about it. Because it's literally, you could see levels of history right there. I mean, they can complain about Mr. Schliemann digging through the hill sideways, but the point is you can see that. I understand why they're so excited. The reason it's here is that some of your knowledge bases look like this, look like the hill of Troy. It's piles and piles and layers, stratified layers of knowledge, which is might not be obsolete, but it's impossible to be used by a human. And if you're gonna unleash AI on this and you expect good results, well, good luck with that. It's just gonna get lost. Some of this knowledge is completely contradictory. I mean, yeah, some is obsolete, some is just fine, but it's just not useful anymore because the particular problem doesn't happen anymore, which then confuses AI because the AI doesn't know that. So that is a common problem. That Rachel had that problem too. They did have the knowledge base in this case. A lot of people don't. A lot of people ask, how do we start? They did have a problem, so as a solution partner, I'm advertising some other apps. They're not my apps, they're on Marketplace. So this is, keyword is archiving. There are plenty of apps that help you archive Confluence pages, like as simple as that. And there's different criteria, like when has it been updated or whatever. The app that really caught my attention is this one. It's a relatively new app. I think it's an old screenshot. There's a bit more installs right now. The reason it caught my attention is because this was not about archiving. This was literally about deleting things. And you say this in Europe and people go, what? This is an American app. And when I questioned the guy, like, why? He gave me a good explanation. In an environment where everybody sues each other, where everybody tries to make money in a court, anything you have in Confluence might be used against you tomorrow. Like if you have a knowledge base and suddenly there's a merger, right? And suddenly people go and do due diligence and they look at your knowledge base and they find something. Like as an example. So his focus was not so much on keeping it up to date. His focus was actually delete anything that you can delete in the first place, which is kind of counterintuitive. But the reason I'm mentioning this, well, hopefully you will never be in such a market, but if you are, there are apps for that. Somebody came to me, so this is a new slide, somebody came to me and asked about document management. So like, okay, you're deleting things, and sometimes you don't want to just delete, you want to have an approval. Like a machine, an AI, or whatever thinks that this thing is not worth keeping, but you really want to have a human in the loop. So it's actually a workflow. But the opposite is true as well. You write something, your team or whoever writes something, you might not want to have that published right away. You might want to have someone review it and approve it. So there's a solutions on Marketplace for document management, basically workflow. If you think Jira workflow, this is Confluence workflow. Right. So anyway, so that's what we implemented for Rachel first. We implemented an archiving tool, and she really wanted to have human in the loop to approve this. So there was a workflow. And then on the back of that, there was a workflow attached to creating new stuff. But her point, yes, she wanted to have knowledge created as you go, which is actually part of Knowledge Centric Support. The whole focus is that you naturally create knowledge as you go. I show this. This is from the old presentation. If you can see the stamps, this is a real use case from our support service desk. I always ask this question. You look at this, you have different titles. Some of you are in support, some of you are in marketing. What do you see? And marketing people go, hey, this guy really loves you. Look at the end. He says, I've been using you for 12 years. You are perfect. This is worthy of, I don't know, 7-star reviews. The developer looks at this and says, well, wait a minute, it's a known problem, it's not a bug. That's good for us, we don't have to fix it. You know, a support person looks at it and says, hey, there's an FAQ, which means I'm fully enabled to answer this query. And a service manager would look at this and says, wait a minute, what's wrong with the timestamps? Look at the timeline. I'll show it later, but the point is, okay, that's a bit screwed up, but this isn't, like, if you look at the arrows, this is a normal, like, expected timeline, a workflow or a service request. Something comes in, hopefully JSM suggests a solution right away, which is your first contact resolution. And then if it doesn't work, it gets triaged and then, you know, assigned, reassigned like a hot potato a couple of times. In the end, some agent actually responds and the customer then maybe replies and the agent responds again, so it's back and forth. In the end, you hope it will be resolved. So and the customer confirms, yes, it's resolved. So the bit about KCS is that this is when you want to categorize your problem, your solution, and you want to write a knowledge base article. So if this thing ever shows up again, you don't want to go through this workflow. You want to solve it at the door. And yeah, you resolve and then you send a survey and hopefully you get a 5 or 7-star review. You guys are perfect. I've been dealing with you for 12 years. Anyway, going back to the timelines. So there's SLAs involved in service desk. We all talk about SLAs, right? On this particular request, every single thing except for the final one, or lapse resolution, was breached. You ask why? I'll tell you why. Because that's actually customers. Customers being customers, instead of raising a new ticket, we're running 24/7 support. Not a lot of marketplace vendors do. But instead of raising a new ticket, they went back on a ticket from 7 years ago. And they just left a new comment that reopened the ticket. But the way the service desk was set up, the ticket stayed assigned with the agent. Like, we're lucky that that agent was still in the company. But the agent being human, just like a customer, they were asleep. So the 8 hours is just literally, they were not at their desk. The 15 minutes at the bottom, one of our solutions is automatic time tracking. So when the agent woke up, they went into service management and they sent the FAQ link, and our automatic time tracking logged 15 minutes. Well, in reality, that's just seconds, but we bill in 15-minute intervals. Anyway, the reason I'm mentioning this is that humans break things. So one of the definitions of good service, good business, good service, is something that is efficient, effective, and also consistent over time. And the consistent bit is where humans suck. We are not good at consistent. This is where automation bit comes up, where people want to automate things. Yeah, machines don't break. Well, okay, but processes, right? Automated processes presumably will execute again and again and again. Humans do. Humans go to sleep. Humans change their opinion, humans leave. I used to say this, and then a customer at Team 25, who sponsor Atlassian conference for 14 years now, he comes in and he says, yeah. And then he gives a definition which is kind of opposite of what I was saying, but okay. He says humans are really good at breaking things. It's not that the humans break, but humans break things, including machines. They find a way. And this is the bit why Rachel actually came to us. So coming back to this, that's the bit that I want to present. She wanted to make sure that her knowledge base actually works. Now the bit here is like this. You have a knowledge base, people come to you, they raise a ticket, they start raising a ticket. JSM very helpfully suggests the knowledge base. What do people do? They don't read. They just ignore the suggestions and they click the submit button, right? And so the thing is, and then what happens then? So if it's a known problem and you got a ticket for a known problem, what would the agent do? The agent just says, here's an FAQ, right? So the whole interaction is very short because you have the knowledge, but it still happens. And from Rachel's perspective, it shouldn't. The knowledge was there, the customer was there, they asked the question, why? Why did they press the submit button? So that's the bit that we developed for her. And again, I'm not promoting the app, I'm promoting the experience. The app is very simple. She wanted to measure the articles that are being used by agents, not by the customer, by the agents. So agents are replying to the customer with the article links. Knowledge exists. They're replying with this. And she wanted to know which articles, how many over a particular span of time. So it's literally like JSM gives you a link. So this is my request. JSM gives you a link to existing articles. You click on that gets automatically copied. This is default Atlassian behavior, nothing to do with us. Click on the link gets copied in the comment that gets sent. We're sitting in the background, we're listening to every comment. When we see a link in the comment, we increment the counter. That's it. That's what the app does. And then there's a report that basically says, look, this article has been sent 7 times. You click on that, you can see the actual tickets that it was sent to. I mean, it's incredibly simple. Yes, which is kind of, okay, so the main bit here is that Rachel showed up and she said, this is what I want. Here's the requirements, which is actually New Zealand psyche. New Zealand loves to do everything themselves. Do it yourself, like build your own house without architect involved, and then face the consequence. That's what they do. And then kind of think what will happen when the earthquake happens. Like, that's what they do. So she showed up with exact requirements, which in my head, I made a mistake. I read through that and I said, hey, that is something we can build in days. That was before AI. We can just do this. So wrong answers only. They asked for it, they paid for it. The way we operate, we try to sign an agreement that when something like this shows up, it's generic, right? This is not Rachel specific. You can use this. We try to sign an agreement that we own the idea and we then can commercialize it. We can put it on Marketplace and then we give updates to Rachel for free forever. So they're effectively sponsoring the first version. Right, so they asked for it, they had the requirements, they paid for it, so sure, why not build it? There's definitely a gap in Atlassian functionality. Like, Atlassian doesn't do it for you. There's no report that will say that. And yeah, okay, there's a clear market need. I don't know about that. There's definitely a niche. Whether there's a market in the niche, you tell me. Like, give me some feedback, whether this actually makes sense. Really, why I thought that we should build it, I thought it's an elegant solution. And elegant is usually something simple, something attractive, and something clever. Now, I don't know about clever. That's a question, that's an opinion. Simple, yes. What do? We listen to comments and we increment the counter. That's simple. Attractive, I probably need to hire a UI specialist to make it more attractive, but it's there. Anyway, I did this. Rachel is happy. Rachel was perfectly happy, but I went further and I said, okay, now what? And then she suddenly gives me this. She says, oh yeah, now that we have this app, look at what we can do. We can figure out where we need new knowledge and what problems actually exist. Now let's like if you see what articles were sent, you can say, well, this is categories actually, right? Okay. And then what the terms in the KB and all those requesters use where they don't match, and when agents are not using it, and I'm like, wait a minute. I don't see that. I don't see any of this in the app that you just asked us to develop. So we started, I should have done that before. I don't know if it would produce a successful collaboration, but I started questioning Rachel, and I realized that she came to us with this clean requirements, this perfect app. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The iceberg is everything underneath. And what she's talking about increasing efficiency, right? Efficiency of your service through having a knowledge base. What she's talking about, identifying gaps. Now, the app doesn't do that. The app tracks knowledge that exists. The app doesn't track knowledge that doesn't exist. And she's talking about speed of, the app doesn't do it either. So yeah, okay, I send an article, but it doesn't say that I send it immediately, or did I spend 10 times back and forth before I send an article because I didn't understand what the customer was talking about. And then she talks about effectiveness. She did mention terms misalignment. So again, question, why did the customer press save? Why did the customer submit the request? Potentially because the article that was shown, so the JSM understands that you're talking about the same thing, but the customer doesn't. Customer is using some term that doesn't match what's in the article. In fact, maybe it is in the article, but it's not shown on the screen. So the title of the article doesn't match the terms that the customer is using. So when she explained that, that makes perfect sense, but the app doesn't track this. And then she used this word, which is actually a word from pharmaceuticals, from healthcare, from pharmaceuticals. She goes efficacy. And it's the fact that like the knowledge is there, but it doesn't do any good. Like you, in this case, agents are not using it. So imagine if I have the knowledge and a customer is submitting requests and I'm resolving requests, but I did not use the knowledge that I should have used. Anyway, so the thing is, I realized that this is what she actually wants, and we went through further discovery, and this is where the AI bit comes in. So I think that finding gaps and increasing speed is where AI can help. Remember the workflow, the timeline of the workflow? So yeah, request comes in, and then at some point it gets triaged. And then, maybe JSM suggests something. Now imagine if this request comes in by email. There's gonna be no screen that says, here is the solution, right? This is where AI can help. So AI can look at the email that just arrived and can say, well, actually, we have a solution for this. This is what Atlassian is selling you. They're saying we can have virtual agents. You give the virtual agent a knowledge base. A virtual agent can't attempt to answer the request. Now, the other good bit of AI use here is that you actually look at the request. If the customer is angry, maybe you don't want to let AI send a link. Maybe you do want a human to get involved, right? So AI can actually assess the sentiment. That's one of the good use cases where you ask an LLM to make a judgment based on the request content, whether the customer is neutral, angry, or happy, or whatever, whether it's feedback, things like that. Anyway, and then, yeah, that would increase speed. The gaps bit, I'll mention a bit later. Misalignment thing, you could use LLM for that, because in the end, LLMs are parsing tokens, right? So they're parsing text, and you can basically ask an LLM saying, give me a list of terms that customer is using, and now give me a list of terms across 27 tickets that this article has been used on by agents. Okay, so customers are raising requests, agents are replying with knowledge. So clearly, humans made a decision that this is the answer to this request. So now you can technically ask an LLM to say, okay, if this is the answer, what's the terms in the question? What's the terms in the answer? Why do they not match? My problem with that, that's a bit heavy. Like I'm asking an LLM to, and I'm burning the earth while I'm doing this. It is definitely an AI, but maybe a different AI. It's machine learning. It's extracting keywords and just comparing two lists. So that's what we're going to do in the app. And yeah, the last bit, to do this, you need to measure the negative space. You need to measure all the responses that agents gave without knowledge, right? So you need to start reacting not only to comments with links, but also to closed tickets where there were no comments with links. So that's hopefully easy. We just need to count more. But anyway, so that's suddenly, like there's more. There's this iceberg that we have to implement. Talking about gaps, which is interesting. So this was a presentation at Atlas Camp in Amsterdam in February. It was a presentation from Atlassian. They were talking exactly about that. They were saying if you have you can use LLM, Rover, Forge LLM, sorry. You can ask it to go through your tickets and figure out the topics, so basically the problems. And then go through your knowledge base and figure out where there is nothing for this particular topic. And I guess that is probably a good use for LLM. Again, I don't really like it. It's a bit heavy-handed, but that's probably what we're going to implement because I don't actually see any easy way to implement it otherwise. But my point here is that here's the customer, they're asking for a real problem, for solution for a real problem, and apparently Atlassian knows about that too. They were presenting this as a workshop, as a gimmick. They were like, oh, look what you can do with Rover, but it's a real problem. Right, okay, I'm gonna finish this up. I promised Dmitry there that I'm gonna talk about partners. I have a very interesting view on partners. People say partner, and they think someone like a family in a sense, right? They think someone in the room who will share all your faults and will cheer you up and will, will be with you along the journey, like a Robin to Batman. I don't think that's what you guys deserve. That's maybe something you need, but that's not something you deserve. You deserve Alfred. You deserve someone who will challenge you, who will say no sometimes and tell you that, hey, you're doing something stupid. And then help in the end, not just critique, but actually help. So I want to emphasize that a lot of partners, well, not a lot of, all of us, we went into this business because we wanted to help people. I mean, sure, we charge money for this, but we want to help people first. A lot of partners will do a lot of things for free. You just need to ask. So please, if anything stays with you from this presentation, talk to your partners, make them work, ask them questions. If they send you a quote in response, well, good riddance, but quick recap. Everybody tells you that AI is going to be your next colleague. I think maybe, but I think the expectations, your expectations, need to be managed. So don't expect too much. If your knowledge base is shit, this is what you're going to get. If your process is bad, AI is not going to improve it. And if your manager says AI, well, find a good use case for AI and satisfy this AI thirst with something that will actually help. Knowledge can be created. Oh, sorry, I didn't mention this, but that's one of the things. She wanted knowledge created on the fly. Now, that bit doesn't have to be human anymore. LLMs are so good at creating text, let's say like this. You could at least ask an LLM to create the first draft of the article. Now, that probably should not be the article, but you can help a human on the next step. You can give them something that already is some content. So that human doesn't have to write a novel. They can just read diagonally, delete, and write something themselves, probably better, hopefully better. So yeah, good enough is the keyword here. Knowledge is an asset. knowledge is power, and knowledge is responsibility in the end. So you can't just have a knowledge base full of stuff and expect for it to just work. You need to cultivate it, need to garden it. Yeah, and then you're not alone. Literally, partners are around you. There were many of you who came to our booth, and we started talking, and you say, oh, look, we're in a licensing discussion with Atlassian. We haven't yet, cloud licensing discussion. We haven't yet signed anything. And I would say, do you have a partner? Yes. Are they involved? No. And my answer was like, hey, involve them early, because whatever Atlassian is promising you, that partner will have to execute, and they might have problems to execute whatever Atlassian has promised. Involve them early, and they will probably help you. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to just ask. In our case, again, we moved all New Zealand to, well, okay, all our part of New Zealand to cloud. I don't have any more cloud migrations in New Zealand. I'm happy to share all the knowledge, all the experience, not the knowledge, experience that we actually had with you if you ask, which is, I want you to do this. So if you actually find this useful in any way, please connect. And by all means, just bombard me with your questions. I don't charge for the answers. I want you to eventually buy my apps, but I'll answer any cloud migrations or anything or whatever, you know, like. Anyway, that's it from me. Hopefully you found this at least a bit interesting, maybe even entertaining. Thank you. And look, I'm only 8 minutes over time. Who is the next speaker?